genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. I'm trying to decide if I want to do this as a silly voice. Thank you for listening. Nope, that's the wrong kind of thing. Because it's...
Oh, you want to do like an old-timey radio voice?
I was going to do an old-timey radio voice, but that's what I did for Plan 9 from Outer Space, and it doesn't work for this. And it's like a noir voice of like, thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. We're recording today from the valley above Los Angeles, an area that was basically made to be by the sort of folks in this movie, and not the good ones. Of course, there are no good ones. So I turn and ask the dame who just stepped into my office, Jennifer Lynn Warren.
What's up?
Is Chinatown a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
I don't think anyone should touch it, but we're going to get our hands all over it today.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's a will be. They'll do it eventually. Arguably, like, is this a movie that has, like, is this, like, there have been, like, a soft, because theoretically you could argue has been, because people talk about how, like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is kind of a remake of Chinatown, right?
Fair, and when we get to my pitch of the quote-unquote remake, it's going to feel more like an homage than a remake, even though it is one of the best screenplays ever written, so you shouldn't throw the structure and the great dialogue out the window either. So.
Right. So, like, there is an aspect of, when we actually get to our version, I think that, like, because it's a period piece in and of itself. Like, it takes place in the 30s?
Yeah, 20s, 30s, because that's when the orange trees were still there in Burbank. And
then, but, like, is a movie from 1972, so, 74, excuse me. And so, like, that means that we kind of have carte blanche to set it as a period piece whenever. But we'll get to that.
I want to set it modern date, but we'll get to that.
Yeah,
yes.
I have a pitch, but we'll figure it out. Jennifer, welcome to Ideal Remake.
Yay! I'm happy to be here.
People who don't know who you are, what you sound like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I am an actress, writer, sometimes director here in Los Angeles. People probably most know me from playing Borgita, an American Horror Story. Yeah. You know what? That's it. I write a lot. I pitch a lot. I make my own silly things and do theater, and here I am.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and I want to say thank you for making me watch Chinatown for the first time. I had not seen this movie. Chinatown's a real bummer. Yeah,
it is, and I really kind of feel bad because, okay, so we met through a writing group, and I was like, all right, what's a movie that Sam needs to watch as a writer? So I'm like trying to help you out.
Oh, so
as
it was a gift.
It was a gift, and I'm like, okay, if he hasn't seen Chinatown, he must watch that because it is considered one of the best scripts ever written.
Right.
And it is fantastic on the page. If you have a moment to read the script, you really should. Also used to have a different ending as well.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, she lived at the end in the first script.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember too many of the details. I should have written those down before bringing it up.
It's fine.
But yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm going to make him watch Chinatown because that's so important for him to know. And then I'm walking to my play afterwards and I just went, oh no. I'm about to go down on this podcast as the girl who wants to remake Chinatown. So I have some regrets, but just a few. It's all right. It would be so much easier to redo like a trashy 80s comedy.
Sure, and I've covered plenty of those, but the idea of starting an episode about Chinatown with regrets I've had a few might be the perfect way to start a remake about Chinatown.
I do like to be on theme.
Well done. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
I was young and I thought it was the most boring thing I ever saw. I was born in 79 and I remember it was on the TV when I was like, and I remember my mom liked it and she would watch it when it popped on. So I never, honestly, I didn't think it was a good movie until I studied screenwriting.
That's valid.
And then I went back and paid attention to it because there's so much that the script like plants in the beginning that you think are throwaway scenes and they're not. They all come back full circle and it's brilliantly put together. But unless you're interested in that, you're just not going to notice it. It's going to feel slow. But
there's also the element of just like, because we picked up, I watched this movie with my friend Zach, and we both left the movie devastated. But there's like, we picked up on the fact that like, we understand the brilliance of the movie. Obviously, Roman Polanski's an evil piece of shit.
mm-hmm.
But like, the movie itself, like, just because someone's an evil piece of shit doesn't mean they don't have talent as a filmmaker. Like, those things are not correlated, depending on who you ask. But like, we get to the end of the movie, and spoilers for people who haven't seen Chinatown, she's killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that she'd been killed before he did, because I picked up on the fact that we'd had the moment earlier in the movie when she bangs her head on the steering wheel and makes the horn noise. And we hear the horn noise coming from the car. And Zach's like, do you think they hit the car? What's going on? I was like, no, she's dead. When was the last time we heard a long, prolonged car horn? And he was like, oh. And then we get to the thing and open the car door, and she's been shot in the head, and it's fucking brutal. And it was just like, oh boy, it's very much the like, I'm planting all the seeds throughout the movie, and it's fucked up, but it is very well done.
And then you see the grandfather
drag his daughter away.
And you know what's going to happen. He's going to have custody of her, and then your mind goes to all of that. And
he's going to do a real Epstein.
Yep, he's going to, the cycle continues.
Yep, it's a real brutal way to end a movie, especially right now, where the cycle has been perpetuating for so long and still hasn't stopped.
And it's a real scathing look at Los Angeles in the 20s and 30s, but also because it was made in the 70s, it's also looking at culture in the 70s too. It wasn't great. We're not great. Our culture hasn't been great in a very long time.
Yeah, that's true. It's also for a movie called Chinatown, we don't actually go to Chinatown until like the last couple minutes of the movie.
No, you just see how Chinatown's affecting the rest of Los Angeles.
Certainly some of the people who were in Chinatown, it's hard to like, for a movie that is so explicitly racist against Chinese people, to then say that it is Chinatown that is causing all of the strife among other people in Los Angeles is also not a great message.
No, and I mean, like, the leads, Jack Nicholson's character, JJ Gets, right? Gets, I don't know. My brain is broken.
Geddes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, even his, when he's like out by the pond in the back of her house and he's clearing out the grass and he's like, and he says glass and he's like really making fun of his accent there.
He is. And to be fair, I didn't pick up on that until the end of the movie when it came back, when it was like, it's not bad for the glass, it's bad for the grass. So it's like, and so we're just sitting there going, yeah, the movie got us. It did a racism and we missed it.
But I think, okay, so
like it's a good plot, like it's a good contrivance, like it worked.
But let's make an assumption that the writer-director is not a piece of shit and that he's actually brilliant at what he's doing and he has something to say.
Again, two things are not
correct. I think the fact that you did not pick up on that racist moment, and I don't think anybody does on their first watch,
of course,
is a really good commentary on the fact that most people don't pick up on their own inherent biases towards other races.
100%.
And so I think it's a brilliant moment.
I fully agree. 100%. I'm on your side. Like, we feel bad about, like, you feel bad about it afterwards, but you're like, that's still really good. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like a really good moment. Like, he is cleaning and picking up and taking care of the grass, and we still just absolutely take him at the word, and it's a really interesting, subtle way to do that.
Yeah. It's like a microaggression, but it's like a micro-racism.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. It's, you're not better than me, audience member. You're just as bad.
Yep. And it makes, I love when a movie makes you look at something that you feel so like, oh, I don't have that kind of bias. And then a piece of art's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And that is amazing. That is brilliant writing and direction and acting, in fact.
Absolutely it is. And Jack Nicholson does an amazing job. So does Faye Dunaway. Everyone who performs in this movie does an exceptional job, with the one genuine exception being Roman Polanski himself, because he's not a good actor.
Oh, fortunately, that was a pretty quick scene, and what's
Yeah.
happening in that scene is so brutal that
Yeah.
it's easy to just not pay attention to him.
The brutality of it is just like, because he shows up and we're just like, oh, he looks like the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This
Yes.
must be what the fuck just happened.
And it seems to be the only moment in Jack Nicholson's like whole performance where you can see him looking at him just being like, I guess I have to do this scene with this guy. He looks a little detached there. And so I'm just gonna give props to Jack just being like, you gotta do what you gotta do to pay
He
the
had
bills,
a
man.
knife stuck up his nose.
He
That's a
did.
hard scene to act.
It is. And then, you know, when that blood squirts, because they'll probably, who knows what they use. There's all sorts of ways that they could have gone literally up his nose in that moment.
Absolutely.
Like, those stuff.
He's not supposed to look like he's having a good time.
No, he's not having a good time. And the role was written for Jack. So it was written for the way he speaks and his cadence, etc. So it'll make it really hard to figure out who our Jack is going to be.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because like he does play a very good noir detective. Of like, he clearly, like, you get the impression that he is jaded, over it, and burnt out, but also really good at what he does, but also doesn't care about what he does and does it just because it's the thing that he gets to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's very good at it. There's a reason why Jack Nicholson is the legend that he's always been.
Same thing with Faye Dunaway.
Absolutely.
mean, another actress could go in there and not understand the assignment, and she did. She's like, okay, I am here as almost like a red herring femme fatale, because that's your assumption, because it plays like a noir. So you're like, oh, she's gonna cause all the danger and this and that, and she never does.
That's true. That is true. When she first arrives, she arrives as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
A threat and an interesting reveal, because the fact that the movie starts with J.J. Gittes is a private detective and he's doing private detective stuff, and he reveals to a guy whose name is Duffy or something.
Yeah, I know. The names are hard to remember in here.
I didn't bother with the guy who's like looking at pictures of his wife cheating on him.
Right. Started with a C. Something. Chips or
some guy. He's around. He'll be relevant later. It doesn't matter. But basically, like, we get that, and then we go into the lobby, and there's a woman who claims her name is Evelyn Mulray. And she's there to hire J.J. Gittes to go take pictures of her husband and uncover the fact that he's been cheating on her. And we go through that whole process. He tracks down and follows Hollis Mulray. He finds out that he works for the water department, that he's like tracking down and hanging out near weird pipes in the middle of the city. And then he does in fact find out that Hollis Mulray is having an affair with a younger woman. So he takes those pictures, gets them back in. They get published in the newspaper, which J.J. Gittes was not thrilled about. And then a woman shows up in his office and is like, what the hell did you just do to my husband?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, he didn't bother detectiving the woman who showed up in his office claiming that she was someone, and then it turns out she wasn't. Which is a good twist. I enjoyed that twist quite a bit.
And it's great because it's like he leans into that, oh, I'm going to believe this woman and everything she says. But then when Faye Dunaway shows up, he keeps going, oh, I'm trying to talk to your husband. I'm not here to talk to you. Where's your husband? I want to talk to your husband, and doesn't want to believe her.
Right.
So very interesting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she showed up to tell him he did a bad job, and the other woman showed up with money.
Yeah, very true.
Given the nature of everybody, I'd potentially follow the money too, and then be like, oh. Because, like, even if there had been an argument of some woman shows up and pays him to investigate a man that she wasn't married to, I'm curious if he would have accepted that case. Because, like, I just want you to follow this guy. I'm going to pay you to follow this guy because I think he's having an affair. Is he your husband? No, but I'm going to give you money to do it. And so I'm genuinely curious if it's something where he would have accepted that money as opposed to, if it's none of your business, then why should it be any of mine, regardless of the money? Because we don't know how he would have fallen.
He has a very interesting moral compass, and we see that in the barbershop scene, which feels like a throwaway scene until you realize, like, it's really setting the stage to let us know that he has a moral compass, because it can be easy to just be like, oh, he's just in this for the money. And that's the way everyone around him sees him. But he wouldn't be able to have the arc he has and try to help her escape at the end if we hadn't planned it earlier, where he's like, hey, I'm just trying to help people out.
Yeah.
So I think if she had really set up a case for him to prove to him that it is actually causing her harm, marriage or not, I think he would have done it.
I think that's probably valid because there's also the aspect of like we kind of get a little bit of his backstory where he used to be a cop on the beat in Chinatown, and there was a lot of double dealing and corruption that he didn't want to be a part of, and that's why he's not a cop anymore. But the person he'd left behind, Escobar, who's now Lieutenant Escobar, was fine with it. And it's kind of like the different paths of one person leaving the force because corruption bad, the other one being like, well, you just kind of got to stick it out. And so that does kind of plant the seed of Jake not being the worst person in the world. He's not a good guy, but he's not the worst person in the world. The worst person in the world is Noah Cross.
Yes, he is.
So we find out that Hollis Mulray used to be business partners with Noah Cross, and together the two of them used to own like all the water rights in the city. Is that correct?
Yes. And I think there is some historical accuracy to that.
Oh, I'm sure.
About how California's water. I mean, our water rights are still messed up to this day.
Oh, yeah. The water rights in this state are fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ever want to find out how fucked up the water rights are, look into the Resnicks in Northern California.
And Nestle Corporation and how much of their water, or our water that they own, which is messed up. Because they're literally bottling our tap water and selling it as filtered water. It's not. It's just not. Tap water.
Yep. Nestle, the corporation that claims that water is not a basic human right.
Yes.
The Resnicks, who actively foment war in the Middle East. So because Iranian and Iraqi almonds taste better than the almonds they grow in California, but if we're at war, people have to buy their almonds. Genuine, actual thing that happens.
Yay, politics!
Yay, politics. What a great movie. Anyway, Jake finds out that he's kind of been had, and his picture has been used to kind of sabotage this dude, Hollis Mulray, kind of against the wishes of his wife and obviously Hollis. What happens next?
Isn't that when... Well, that's when the wife shows up.
Yeah, so the wife is kind of how we found out.
Listen, brain fog is a real thing in perimenopause, and you can leave that shit in if you want. This is a PSA for being a woman in her mid-40s.
It's a PMSSA.
PMSSA. So, wait, he's already fallen into the water. He's seen the water go into the ocean. That's when he goes to he's got to go see an orange grove, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's when he goes to Burbank.
Yeah.
Burbank.
He's checking out various orange grove. He's kind of tracking the water because he's trying to find Hollis Mulray and he can't find him. He's not at home. He's not at the office. And he's going to the different places Hollis has been. The orange groves in Burbank and... I don't know, some other thing in the valley with water. I don't specifically know.
The reservoir, it's still there.
The reservoir.
You can go hiking around it. It's very nice.
It is very nice.
Yes.
Okay, so he goes to the reservoir. I like the reservoir. It's a lovely hike. I think he finds a dead body.
Oh, yeah.
He finds a dead body, and that's where
With the bulging eyes!
With the bulging eyes, and I believe that's where we meet Escobar for the first time.
Yes. In my mind, that has already happened.
Yes. So it happens now because when he's in the water office, he meets the lieutenant water district, the lieutenant of water, the vice president of water in Los Angeles. And while he's trying to find information about Hollis and doing all of that, but when people aren't looking, he steals a couple extra business cards from Yelburton to try to and he uses that to get in to go investigate the reservoir.
He lies about who he is.
Yes. What a guy.
What a guy. I mean, listen, I'd do the same thing. It's
absolutely
cool.
It's good private eye shit.
Honestly, and it's something that would only work in the 20s and 30s, so
right.
Use it if you got it.
Absolutely. Use the resources available to you.
And he's trying to do a good thing. Like, we're with that character. We want him to get in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically for the entirety of the movie, we're on his side. With one rare exception, we're largely on his side.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. Technically two exceptions now that I'm thinking about it, but yes. So we find out, anyway, Hollis Mulray is dead. Sad. Since it turns out he was, by all accounts, a genuinely decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is kind of about because he was opposing a new dam from being built, because the last time they built a dam in the exact same situation, it killed 500 people, and he signed off on it, and he was like, I never want anything like that to ever happen again. Hollis Mulray was also very much the reason why he was now in the Department of Water instead of owning all the water was because he believed water was a human right and belonged to the people of Los Angeles. His former business partner, Noah Cross, Hollis's wife's father, disagrees.
He's an interesting character because he marries the daughter of his business partner because she's pregnant, and one can only assume that he knows who the actual father of that baby is.
Is that when he marries her?
Because she said she was pregnant when she was 15.
Yes.
So and then she went to Mexico with him.
The way the timeline worked out, according to the way I paid attention to, is that she was raped by her father when she was 15.
Yes.
And then she went to Mexico, had the baby, had to give the baby up, and
was with him. He took her to Mexico. He took her to Mexico? I remember her saying that.
The reason why...
Should we Google that?
It's fine.
All right.
If he's the one that took her to Mexico, that creeps me out more because he was 15, 20 years older than her, and that is not okay. And also, when it turns out that the woman he was having an affair with was her sister daughter, that's even more not okay. Despite the fact that she set them up, that's even more not okay.
You know, I feel like I've rewatched that scene a couple times where he's taking the picture of him with her, like, you know, this girl that's his daughter through his wife, and it's friendly, and I think it is well directed in that in the moment we're supposed to look at it as a romantic scene because that's what we're expecting.
Sure.
But on a rewatch, if you're like, could this just be a father-daughter relationship? Also plays very much like that.
Yeah, so it never felt particularly lurid. He basically finds them on a date in Echo Park Lake, where they are in a swan boat, and it's like, dude, there's half of the city mad at you because you're refusing the water rights to people in the valley because you're worried people are going to get killed. People potentially know what you look like, and then I'm like, no, they don't. There's no internet. They have no idea who this guy is. He's just on a boat with a younger woman, a swan boat in the middle of the lake.
Simpler days.
And then we see the scene with the two of them hugging.
And there's like a quick kiss, but it was very common, like even when I was a young girl, for us to give quick kisses to our mothers and fathers. Like it was very much a generational thing, and that wasn't like a sloppy, sexy kiss at all. So it very much could have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that is certainly a valid interpretation. And then you remember that the movie is made by Roman Polanski, and then the likelihood of the older man sleeping with the younger woman is a lot more likely.
Yes.
So Hollis Mulray is basically, we'll find this out later, but basically Evelyn talks about how she was never really a good wife. She was constantly sleeping around and being with other people. She was kind of like never really happy or anything and couldn't be tied down. Hollis was very nice and he took care of her and she genuinely loved him, but she just didn't want to like be consistently like together with him. And because she felt bad, she set up her husband with her sister daughter, whose name I don't know that we ever...
Catherine?
It might be Catherine. Sophie? Catherine. Belinda Palmer, Catherine. Yes, that is correct. It is Catherine. Very good. And then as like since I'm not going to be a good wife, maybe this person will be. This perfect, innocent, idealized babe of a child. Because I don't know how old Faye Dunaway is in this movie. I assumed 40s.
I think so. I mean, that broad's been around for a long time.
Right. And so like that's why I was like, well, that means that her daughter's probably like mid-20s.
She looks younger, though.
She does.
The casting is creepy.
The casting's extremely creepy. I wonder why. Anyway, that, again, is also in the future. Our characters don't know that yet. But we find out that Hollis Mulray is dead. And now it's a whole investigation of figuring out who killed him and why. Because there's a bunch of people who hated him because he was denying water rights, but then there's also the people he was trying to protect by doing water rights. And that's where the intrigue of finding out that Faye Dunaway, Evelyn Mulray, nay Cross, because she is Noah Cross's daughter, the other guy who owned all the rights, the guy who's trying to build this $8 million dam where he would make all the money. He's already like the richest person in town, and she does not have a good relationship with her father. Again, we'll find out why later. We're kind of putting all the pieces together of this like big intrigue plot of Jake should stop investigating, but he can't let it go because he wants to know because he still feels responsible for the death of this guy. And also Evelyn hires him.
She hired him so that it would look legitimate that she actually hired him, because she's trying to get the cops off the scent.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Because they're both arrested, and he ends up protecting her, or basically saying that she wasn't responsible, or like, they both claim that she hired him because they didn't want to reveal the fact that someone else hired him to go do this job, because it was kind of like protecting Hollis's reputation. And it's kind of a series of lies, and basically she's legitimizing the lies.
Yeah. Or trying to. And then he's like, well, that's not a good idea, because now it looks like a bribe because it's a big check.
Right.
Which says something about him, that he's not concocting a story to say why he accepted this amount of money. He's just saying, no, I'm not going to take it. But then he's okay taking a large amount of money from Noah Cross.
Yes. Well, Noah Cross, it pays him to start looking for the other woman, who we don't know is the sister daughter yet. But because Noah Cross just wants him to find it. And so basically Jake's like, well, I'm already doing all this detective work. It makes sense for me to get paid twice to do the same job. He doesn't know that Noah Cross, I mean, he suspects that Noah Cross is a bad dude, but he doesn't know. And hey, if he's already doing this work anyway, may as well take the money. And he slowly uncovers the fact that there's this whole community of people who, the reason why all of the water is being denied to the farmers and the orange groves and the people is because they want to force these farmers off their land so the land can be bought for cheap. And then all of the land will become valuable and worth millions and millions more dollars in the future.
Bring LA to the water. And if you try to buy a house recently in Burbank, those little bungalows are like $1.4 million.
Yep. So fundamentally, we know the plan works. Essentially, like, that's the whole kind of plan. Like, we're familiar with plans like this before. Force the people out, buy up the land, do the thing. The kind of twisty bit of this is that the people who are buying the land end up being people in a very wealthy retirement community. And when Jake and Evelyn go and investigate that, some goons show up and try and kill him, and they do this fun, daring escape, and it's very exciting.
I would love a spin-off TV series of those women in that retirement home, finding out that they're wealthy and then like getting the revenge and taking all the money and living their best lives.
So it's like, oh man, what's the one where they drive off the cliff? The two women.
Thelma and Louise.
It's Thelma and Louise meets the movie Thelma.
Yes. Oh, that would be great.
That also, Thelma's great. So just like that whole blend of, yeah, fully on board. Let's make that movie.
Let's do that.
I love that.
All right.
But yeah, so it's intrigue, and then basically like we find out that like the different layers of intrigue. Then Faye and Jake, after making their daring escape, hook up because like, oh my gosh, emotions are high. And then Jake goes home, despite the fact that we're shouting at the screen that, no, you just got attacked by goons. What are the two first places they'll look?
Right.
Evelyn's home and your home. So they go to their two homes, and that's the first two places that they get found.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting, because she sleeps around because she doesn't want to be emotionally connected to one guy. And then she sleeps with Jack's character, and then she's like, please don't go home. It was a bit of a reach for me to believe that he is suddenly the one guy in her life that she meets that she doesn't want to leave.
Oh, I didn't get that impression, but yes, I can see that interpretation as well. I kind of saw, because she talked about how, like, she gets invested, she's with some guys for a while, and then she falls out of favor. Or, like, she's interested for a while, and then that goes away. So right now, she's interested, and then presumably it will go in the way in the future. But it was interesting that when they're in bed together, Jake's like, yeah, leave me alone.
Yeah.
We had sex, and now I'm tired.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm going to run an errand then. And he's like, oh, you're walking away from me?
Here's this guy that, I mean, if he nails this broad down, she's worth a lot of money. That is also true. She can solve all of his financial problems.
Does he have financial problems?
I mean, he has a kind of a crappy job.
He seems to be making a fair amount of money from it. Like, we did the math on, like, what his hourly rate was, and Zach plugged it into an inflation calculator.
Like $35.
And it's like $800 a day, and it was like, oh my god, $800 a day plus money for the assistants, and it was like it seemed like he was making pretty good money.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
Look, I don't disagree with you. It's not a job I would want. And so eventually, like, the intrigue unfoils, the whole thing. Chinatown. Evelyn is trying to get away with her sister-daughter, and Noah's trying to track her down and steal the granddaughter away. And Evelyn and Catherine jump into a car and try to make it away. They have this big showdown in Chinatown, and then the cops are like, no, you can't escape, and they fire guns. And they hit Evelyn, they shoot her in the head, and then Noah takes Catherine and takes her away, and there's nothing Jake can do, and his little assistant comes along and goes,
forget it, it's Chinatown.
it is in fact Chinatown. Roll credits. Yeah.
Well, all that being said.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
Okay, proverbial gun to my head, I get hired to remake this movie. Even though I don't want to and it's not my wheelhouse, but that's cool. I'm going to set it in modern day Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I am going to connect the water issues with data centers.
Interesting. I'm incredibly taken with that idea. The last episode of this podcast was Tron, so I did spend a lot of time talking about AI.
Well, I'm not really bringing AI into this.
You're not.
I'm bringing, so literally yes, the data centers are being used to process large amounts of AI. That is not the only thing they're being used for.
They're also being used and taking a lot of water.
They sure are.
So, and is that happening specifically in Los Angeles, or are there a lot of data centers in Los Angeles?
Well, they're trying to put data centers literally everywhere.
Literally everywhere.
Especially in the major cities because our AI consumption is so much.
Yeah, it sure is.
But, our version of Chinatown or my version of, East Side, because Chinatown's not the Chinatown it used to be.
That's true.
Right? Whereas now we have such a large Latino population. And one of the things I love about this podcast is you guys are you're always cognizant of, casting outside of just, 10 white men.
Right.
That work all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it would be very interesting to look at San Fernando Valley, Boyle Heights, that's where they would, and I'm pretty sure now are trying to put the data centers in now.
Probably.
So those very heavy Latino communities, and I don't think there's enough Latino representation on screen when you look at how many Latinos live in the United States and then how much television and film they get, it's really sad.
It is lower than the numbers should be based on actual percentage of population, but also not surprising considering just horrific racism in the country.
Yes, but also some of the greatest stories. So I would like to have a predominantly Latino cast for this.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't do that.
That's
but
okay.
We'll figure that out in a minute. My thought when it came to placement in time was that this movie came out in 1974, but was 40 years-ish since the actual events of the movie. My initial thought had been I'd played around with a couple of ideas, but the one I ended up landing on was period piece also, but 70s, 80s, specifically around the time of the Paramount Accords.
Say more.
So the Paramount Accords are an aspect of the studios in Hollywood becoming so powerful, and they were controlling the entire channel of production, from production to distribution to actual showing.
Was that what the court cases were called? The Paramount Accords?
That's what the final ruling was.
Oh,
that's what,
I did not know that little tidbit. Okay.
That's what broke up the studios. That's what separated Paramount from UTA.
Yes.
Because it used to be the agencies and everything else. And so they were owning the entire means of production.
And you notice that verticals are now doing that. They're signing actors to Drama Box, and they're controlling, they're doing old studio systems.
I'm going to get around to that. So the idea that I had was that it's building up this whole thing of because part of Chinatown is a bummer, and it ends on this whole big sad notion of that's just the nature of the world. And I kind of like the idea of ending differently, but with a bit of a knife twist.
Okay.
Because the whole nature of the Paramount Accords is that these big companies were trying to take over and control the market, have not a monopoly, an
oligarchy.
Oligarchy is rule,
yeah.
So it's an oligopoly.
Another new word for me.
Oligarchy is rule by the few. Oligopoly is a monopoly. I think I'm probably saying it slightly wrong, but something like that. Where basically just it's this industry is entirely controlled by these 4 or 5 companies exclusively. And they just it's a monopoly of like 5 companies.
Right.
Like collusion, all of that. And so what ends up happening is at the end of the Paramount Accords, they split them up and studios aren't allowed to own movie theaters.
Right.
Like that's the whole thing of they can't control that because there has to be the competition. They have to, it's better for the workers if these studios aren't colluding, if they're in competition. And so it is this big, it is a victory, but with the period piece and you setting it now, we kind of are now at a point where despite the fact that that law was kind of allowed to lapse because streamers started to exist and that kind of cut movie theaters out anyway. So now it doesn't even matter if studios own theaters because they already can tip to tail own the entire means of production.
Yep.
So I liked the idea of setting up this world and building a quote unquote victory happy ending of the movie. But anyone who's watching it knows that doesn't last and is in fact broken 15, 20, 30 years later. And so that was kind of the idea of you get to have the Chinatown depressing ending of reality sucks and rich people are still trying to take over and control the world, while also having the satisfaction of, well, at least the people in this movie got a satisfying ending, despite the fact that reality never really changed.
So you want to give them the satisfaction.
I want to give the dummies the satisfaction.
The dummies is that. Say more.
Well, it's a mean way to say that, but basically, like, anyone who doesn't have any information or knowledge about Paramount Accords and the nature of the current studio system will watch this movie and go, oh, that's great, we won, so the good guys won. But anyone has that little bit of extra knowledge go, not for long.
Not for long.
Yeah. And so that had kind of been my idea. However, building the movie around, like, fundamentally, it's a movie, Chinatown is a movie about water. And if we're talking about data centers,
a red herring for Chinatown
land. Being
a movie about just the undercurrent corruption in cities,
right? But that's still about, like, if we're talking about data centers, a lot of the problem with the data centers is that they are taking all of the water, and it's still corruption and everything. It's the same basic human right that is then being said is being packaged and sold back.
Yes.
So I'm perfectly happy to do data centers. I just wanted to talk about the idea that I had.
No, I love it. This is why I want to be in a writer's room so much, because that's like what a writer's room is.
Right. Like exactly. It's Writer Calisthenics is the podcast. But yeah, like kind of the idea of we need to figure out when we're setting it and what the big money maker is.
The good thing is we're on the same page, I think, of what we want to say thematically about our rewrite, right? And that's
that rich people are great. They're job makers.
Yeah, they're amazing. Oh my God, I have such a crush on Elon Musk right now.
Oh God, huge, I'm gonna cut this out of the podcast.
Belly he has. Bad. Oh my God,
it's full of drugs.
And the people who are like, he doesn't actually have trillions of dollars.
I mean, technically, that's true. He has trillions singular of dollars. Mm-hmm. And also, one of the worst people that's ever existed, and boy, is that an interesting family, because his parents are still around, and they're horrific.
And listen, if you can push a button, and suddenly there's like $1 trillion in your bank account, which I know it doesn't really work that way, but it kind of does,
right?
Then you have that money.
Yeah, and having that money is a war crime.
It really is.
As a man who was responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths with his stupid Doge bullshit. But anyway, podcast stuff.
Oh my God. So Chinatown.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, we know who our villains are, and they're people, and they're both people like that and people who think that people like that aren't the problems that they are. It's the monsters themselves and the monstrous sycophants.
I thought the studios got broken up in the 30s and 40s.
When did the Paramount Accord happen? Let's find out. 1948.
Okay.
So I was wrong. That is a lot further in the past than I realized. So it looks like we're going contemporary and data centers.
I mean, the thing, like,
No, that is the current thing.
What I care about is working class residents being forced into bankruptcy because rich people don't have enough money.
Right.
That is what I care about.
And I think using Well, so then that brings us to the next question. Chinatown, as the movie exists, is inherently about Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to set this in Los Angeles? Because there are a lot of small communities all over the place. I feel like the area of Los Angeles specifically being targeted for data centers is a predominantly Hispanic area.
Yes.
And I feel like that is probably better for what we're going for, as opposed to potentially going after like small southern towns where the data centers exist and we're just like, it sucks for you guys.
Yeah.
Your local governments were incredibly corrupt and let this happen.
And I do think that there is the misnomer from us dummies who live on the coast. They're like, oh, well, if that's happening in small town, small state, why don't you just move to the other side of town? And we don't, because we have that. Like, I don't say we mean me, you, and me. The general voting populace is like, what's the problem? If you don't like it, just move.
Especially when the move isn't even possible, when your house is now worth negative money, because who would ever buy a house next to a data center?
Exactly.
It's just, you are now stuck here because the thing that you thought that was going to provide value to your family for potential generations and whatever they need is instead now a burden that is also a prison.
Yes. Not that I'm a big fan of like art needs to enact change, but a lot of times art can enact change. And I think that this kind of story needs to be set in a large city because it affects the most amount of people.
Great.
Because right now the story is that it's in these small communities, and it's not until it comes for quote unquote us that people start to care.
And people often think, well, it couldn't possibly happen here, is what they've been saying about politics in the United States for a very long time. And then it is actively happening here. So, yes, I think, like, Simi Valley, Van Nuys, Northridge, all of those are different areas where this sort of thing could and probably is occurring. And we are currently the city of Los Angeles recently got out of a years-long drought, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have a bunch of water forever. It still means we need to be safe and careful, and a lot of the things that we did that were good for the city in the past, like paving over the Los Angeles River, are now kind of being looked at as that worked for then, and now we need to figure out something else to do with the LA River.
We need to go break up that concrete and let the water like go back into our groundwater again, instead
of just being fed directly into the ocean.
Correct.
So that's also a big thing that's going on.
And for those of you not in LA, the LA River does look as dry as you see it in Chinatown most of the parts, but there are a few parts that are not concreted down and they do hold water, and you can go kayaking and it's very nice.
I believe that. There's also, like, if you drive up the 405 towards Santa Clarita and all of that area, there's an area where you'll see like a water reservoir, which is like water running down the hill. Like, you'll see water in Los Angeles.
Right by my house.
Right by your house. But there are different places in LA where you'll go and be like, oh, here's the river. And it is concrete.
Yes.
Like, and it's been concrete for years and years and years, and people love filming there. Like, the number of movies that we've seen filmed in the LA River, because it's just this amazing flat concrete place for people to go drag racing and have, like, drive their car. It's a lot. It's a great place to film.
You make fun of it until it rains, and then all of a sudden it's like flash flood, and then you're wondering if the water is going to come up over because there's concrete and there's nowhere for the water to sink down into the land.
And fundamentally, when the city was being built, the concrete actually was a good idea because there were real problems with flooding and rain. And so the purpose of the concrete river is to get the water out in order to prevent flooding and protect the homes and places where people live and work. But now those places are pretty well protected, and the water leaving the city in a mad rush means that we don't have the water in our water table that we need. Anyway, we had a drought for a long time.
Yeah, I know. Listen, you can cut all of that out, but it's like I like talking about the water in LA.
That's the nature of Los Angeles as it is right now. And so to have someone coming in, and let's say we need to figure out something that they're pitching about bringing more water to Los Angeles. If you can't bring the water to LA, you have to bring LA to the water. So let's figure out what that means for our version of this movie. What is the promise that these people are making when they're trying to offer a data center?
Jobs. Which has been like this, it's a shitty pitch, but they're doing that in these communities, going, oh, well, we need someone to work security. We need someone to work. And it's like 5 jobs. But they're like, we're going to bring jobs because there needs to be maintenance and janitors. And sure, true. But it sucks. It's not the jobs we want.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's also the aspect of they offer to pay a percentage of utility bills, which I think does happen, but then the utility bill explodes. And so 50% of a $25 utility bill was like, all right, sure. But then when the utility bill becomes $300, it doesn't matter that $150 is getting paid if the bill jumps from 25 to 150 for you.
Well, it's interesting. So your pitch of us needing to justify that line that's in the script, I'm thinking
it's a way we can build around.
Another way to look at it, which I'm a much more cynical person, I think in our modern day economy and politics, they no longer have to justify anything. They just do it. In the 30s and the 20s, they had to justify it or people were going to be literally up in arms. Now they just do it.
Okay, so then let's say that Hollis Mulray is one of our councilmen, and it was one of the people who was voting against this thing, and let's say he was the deciding negative vote. And the person who's going to be replacing him, Yelburton, is going to be like, yeah, I mean, whatever, it's progress. It's good for the economy. The Olympics are always good for the economy, which is a whole other issue. Anyway, it sucks that the Olympics are coming here. Anyway.
And we're still not getting more metro transportation. That's like the one good thing that could come out of it.
Yeah.
We're not really getting it.
We're not going to get that in time. I mean, It's great that we have the D. I was literally on the subway yesterday. Anyway.
Yay, I love the subway.
Let's say that it is something that the city is just doing and not putting to vote. And so the whole thing is that they are doing all of this blatantly and out loud, despite the fact that it's the sort of thing that by all rights, the residents should be able to vote on. And we know that they would vote no because it's still a blue city, regardless of the corruption in local government. Like, our local government, bad. But a lot of people in the city tend to say that Spencer Pratt's a piece of shit. So it's about them doing this thing. And the person who is trying to raise awareness and letting everyone know that, hey, your city is doing all these things, gets scandalized in the newspaper and then found dead. So once public opinion turns on them, they end up dead, so people aren't going to care and they're not going to investigate. Which is kind of why Hollis is killed in the movie. Like, he's already being scandalized, then he has this big final scandal, ends up dead. He was a piece of shit, who cares?
Well, yeah, I really think the movie is really about Noah Cross getting away with the crime.
Right. So, yes, we're going to find that out. Noah Cross is our Elon Musk horrible human being, doing all of this, making as much money, grabbing as much as he can because he is a dragon who wants to sit on a pile of money and keep it all for himself. He's a monster. We know that. I'm trying to get into, like, plot mechanics.
Don't call him a dragon. I love dragons. Dragons are the best.
Dragons are great. I also don't want to call him a miser because that has historically anti-Semitic concepts. So he's just a bad monster.
Speaking of anti-Semitism, the commentary on Jewishness in the movie is very interesting as well.
There isn't a lot of it, but it is interesting.
But what's there is interesting. And it feels like it comes out of nowhere and it keeps twisting in that couple of moments and you're just like, oh, what is the filmmaker trying to say here?
Yeah, it's definitely just like boy, in this era, things sure were different, huh? They're definitely not the same now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Noah Cross, bad person, we know that. But for our actual plot mechanics of the movie, modern day data center, our Hollis Mulray, city council person who is scandalized and then killed.
Yeah.
And then we have our J.J. Gittes, who is investigating and is having to actually physically go to all these places, because I also think it would be fun if he realizes that satellite tracking, satellite mapping, Google Maps of all these places stopped updating a couple years ago. The rest of the city, Street View, City View, every few months we get a new updated image. But all of these things, there's nothing. It looks like there's something there, but then when you actually look, you find out that the map is several years old.
That's happening.
Of course it is.
Yep.
And so he goes to investigate in person, and that's when he starts realizing that these things are starting to be built and people are being forced out of their homes.
Yeah, that's a good replacement for like the Orange Grove scene.
Yeah. certainly will hit harder when we realize that orange groves aren't being replaced. It's people.
Yeah.
People are being bulldozed. And all of these different like buildings and communities, the land and the buildings are being bought up by some shell company.
Yes.
And that shell company is raising rent because even in areas that are potentially rent controlled, if the building sells, and they're trying to figure out all the various city loopholes to do all these terrible, horrible things.
Here's the thing about rent control. I have a soapbox about this. Rent control doesn't work because there's no control on the taxes. So imagine that you actually get to be a landlord someday and you're like, rent control, great. I'm for rent control. Let my tenants have rent control. And then the city keeps raising the taxes to the point that the rent that you're charging no longer even covers the taxes plus the mortgage that you're paying. You sell and the rent control goes away and you turn them into condos. That is what happens with rent control. So until we figure out how to control the taxes around rent control basically is meaningless.
Yeah.
That's my rant on rent control.
Yeah.
I just like to share that with people because a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. There are aspects of rent control that are good. Like there's a lot of ways where I would rather have rent control than not.
If you're in a good city. But if you're in a city where somebody wants that land to change,
they raise the taxes.
They just raise the taxes.
Right. So, like, it's good on paper, but then, like, in practice, it has to be defended on a governmental level. Yes. And there are parts of the city where that is true. There are also parts of the city where that is not true.
That's right.
Because LA is not one city. It is like 32 different cities duct taped together.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting place to live, this town. That's our Hollis Mulray. That's kind of the nature of what the, like, undercurrent is. I like him being tricked into going and investigating. I like Ida Sessions being the one who shows up and pretends to be the wife. I like
Ida Sessions should be like an influencer instead of a prostitute.
I don't think we need that. Was Ida Sessions a prostitute?
Yeah. She calls and she admits that she's a working girl.
Ah, that's what that meant. We interpreted that differently. So this is Los Angeles. We're watching this movie and we end up seeing Ida Sessions' wallet. And we see one of the little cards in the wallet said Screen.
Actors Guild.
We thought she was a Screen Actors Guild paid actress who was hired to go do the job.
I wonder if the props department wasn't just having a little pokey fun at actresses back then, because, I mean, even to this day, for some people, if you tell them you're an actress, they assume that you're in some sort of prostitution deal to get
fundamentally,
cast and whatever.
One way or another, it's a selling of the body. However.
Fair. Yes, but she does call and say she's a working girl. Got
it. We missed that. Fair enough. Anyway, she gets murdered also. Fun for everyone.
Yay.
Yeah, more women death. The idea of being tricked by Ida Sessions, like, we can play around with the notion of her being OnlyFans, all of that, just taking the job doing that. I don't necessarily love that because I genuinely think it's very funny. I think it's much funnier
if she's just an actor.
And Jake,
she should have a central casting card.
I was gonna take it another step further where Jake investigates and ends up finding the listing on Actors Access finds out
backstage. It's gotta be backstage.
Okay, sure, backstage. Yeah. I don't know, like or LA Casting or Casting Frontier. It doesn't matter.
It matters.
Okay, sure.
You know, some of these casting sites vet the castings and some do not.
That's true. And look, improv is required for this role. But basically, like, I think that's so much funnier. And I also like the idea of him then tracking down Ida Sessions and she took selfies at the casting call, like, of like saying, hey, auditioning for this role, break a leg, me.
Booked it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that all the way. I think that would be so funny. Because that is the modern. I don't think we need to introduce this other extra thing of, like, it's LA and LA is a city of desperate people who want to work one way or the other, and I think that that's a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
So, that's our introduction. That's our Ida Sessions. What is the background for Evelyn, for Catherine, and all of that? Because I don't think we can do that again. Despite the fact that we are now in a post-Epstein list world where all of this is still happening, it's real, and it's fucked up, is that still something, an element of this movie, when really the core of the movie is rich people bad and they're going to destroy all the poor people in their way? Do we want to have this extra horrifically terrible thing?
Are you talking about the rape of the father, or are you talking about the fact that he slaps her when she tells her sister, mother, daughter, sister?
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that. But yeah, Jake Gittes slaps Evelyn to get the truth out of her, and eventually it works, and it's crazy. We also didn't talk about the fact that the dude from the beginning of the movie, who found out that his wife had been cheating on him, Jake then goes to him for help, and then the wife opens the door and she's been hit, and he's like, hey, I'm Jake, and she's like, I know who you are. Or no, she lets him in, and he goes and talks to the guy, and he's like, hey, honey, isn't this great? This is the detective who found out that you weren't. She's like, I know who he is. And we're just like, and then this dude is kind of treated as this, lovable oaf who's here to help and save the day, despite the fact that he clearly was beating his wife.
But I love that. Because as a woman who's been in that situation, a lot of times those men know how to present themselves as safe, lovable characters to everyone else in the world except to you. And it makes it so much harder for anybody to believe your story.
Okay, then we'll leave that in.
I actually thought that was heart-wrenchingly beautiful. And I think the actors played it perfectly, because there's also that argument, well, why didn't she go like, my husband's beating me? Because you don't. And
also we could see the black eye.
If he's not going to do anything when he sees that black eye, he's not going to do anything. And she's used to people not doing anything, and I think she should have got an Oscar just for that little scene. Like, she was brilliant.
She was very good.
Yeah.
We can even have that as the aspect of like the kind of bookend of the movie of, we see a normal day for our Jake, and then we kind of see the ramifications of what he kind of has to learn to stomach and be okay with in going about and doing his normal day. He turns a blind eye, but it's still happening. But then the question of our Evelyn, Catherine, Noah, are we still treating it the way it was treated in the original movie? What are we doing?
I think that at its core, the script is about this man, Noah Cross, who is raping his daughter. He's raping the land. Like, that's what this man does.
Yes. I would like to change it a little bit.
We can change it, but I don't want to soften it.
No, I want it to be different, because I think what ends up being the more sympathetic character is Catherine, this character we never really see.
The daughter.
And I think if we take our Catherine character and make that our Evelyn character, the person, the wife, isn't the daughter mother. She is the daughter granddaughter. And that's the person we're interacting with, the person who is drawn to all these different things, who herself is going through all of this. And we find out that this person who she thought was her father is her father, but also her grandfather. And that's something that we go through over the course of the movie. I think that's a lot more brutal, because then we also get to set up, we can decide whether or not we kill her at the end of the movie, because we decide if you get to do this ultimate tragedy of this woman whose life was horrific from start to literal finish. And like, we finally it's not about necessarily her saving this daughter of hers. It's finally like, she has a little bit of money set aside. She's going to escape. She's going to disappear. And then even that gets taken away from her. Maybe. Because otherwise we're just doing the same thing as Chinatown again. And as much as this is a remake, I do still want to kind of have some of the same feelings, but not necessarily the same execution. Because we're making this in a world where Chinatown exists.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I think what makes that tricky is I feel like what you just pitched is the more norm that we'll see in TVs and books and things like that, where we hear from the daughter. I think what was interesting in Chinatown is you're hearing from the mother more.
Okay.
So I get where you're going. There's gotta be a third angle.
Okay. The problem is that, like, in the same thing that I said earlier, where like we can have like multiple different strains and concept of like, what is the core thing that we want people leaving the movie with? What is the lesson, the idea, the concept, the point of our movie?
That rich people always get away with it.
Yes. So it's rich people always get away with it, and it's get away with everything. That's the whole point of original Chinatown, is there is nothing that a rich person can't get away with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reality that a lot of people are dealing with, of in this country, there have been more people prosecuted for peeling paint off the bottom of the reflecting pool than have been prosecuted for being in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And so we want to have this thing because it's like this data center, this stealing of water, this kicking people out of their homes, even that's not enough for the horrific greed of these sorts of monsters who are willing to do anything because they genuinely believe the rules of society and humanity don't apply to them.
Yeah. I think so. So going back to your pitch, I like it. The one thing I think Chinatown never really connected was how the water issues beyond what we know was really affecting the characters in their day-to-day lives.
We see it a little bit at the beginning with the farmers who are talking about
but the farmers, but
even for what our version, the water is going to be a part of it, but not the main part of it. Because our Hollis Mulray, Noah Cross even are going to be like city council people, just like rich people on city council. And because at this, it's going to be land, rent, homes.
Right.
Like water's going to be a part of it, but it's more just like people are being kicked out of their homes because land is slowly being taken from them. And like they're even building things to make these homes less valuable so they can keep taking more homes and building more data centers. And like the more they do this, the easier it is to do because the less these places are worth and the easier it is to buy them.
Of course. Yeah.
It's self-perpetuating, and like you literally let one get in, it's going to just make it easier to do the same thing to everything around it. So if you want to extend that to the way that the crosses of the world treat people, it's again the cycle of abuse of, well, it happened to one person, so it can happen to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. There is an aspect where we can do this a couple of different ways. We can have Evelyn doing all of this, trying to put money together, not just so that she can escape with the daughter, but because she has a group of different women who were all victims of the same abuse from this guy, or multiple guys. I don't know. She has been figuring out different ways to protect these women. So the rich person has been trying to not only get to her, but break her system so that all of these abuse victims can then be discovered and kind of put back into the system of abuse.
Yeah.
Because there are quite a lot of places in LA where you have to be really careful because people disappear from LA into all forms of sex slavery, and it's brutal and horrific.
I've seen those casting calls on Craigslist.
Yep.
And for anyone out there who might be young and pretty, if they want to pay you to go sit at a bar to get guys to buy you drinks, that is a sex trafficking ring. Do not answer that call.
Correct. So I feel like if we want to end on a brutal thing, if we want to we can certainly have or work and talk about like the incest nature of it all. But I feel like the more relevant current thing is the cycle of abuse of these rich people preying on very young girls / children, and Evelyn finding out ways of kind of protecting and getting them like safe. But then Noah Cross is trying to break the system because it's easier to begin the cycle of abuse again on people who have already kind of
been abused.
Yes. And I feel like that's the kind of dark thing we want to go to of that's what he takes from her at the end when she dies isn't necessarily this daughter. It's the information so that he can get to all of these abuse victims again.
Yeah, that I like. Okay, I get where you're coming from now.
Yeah, okay. I feel like that's going to be kind of a better way of blending the ideas. Because horrific, horrible, evil wins again.
Yes, it does.
Hooray!
Yay!
That's Chinatown, baby!
Yes, Chinatown!
Okay, so that's the personal, that's the overall. Is there anything else we need in terms of plot, or we kind of have a sense of like same kind of core aspect of what Chinatown's going to be?
I think don't break, don't fix. Yeah, it's so well thought out. The script is so well structured that.
Yes. So like same kind of structure, modern context, data centers, child sex rings. We've got all the things that we're talking about.
We got all the things.
So,
and I mean, I even want to pull a little bit because I was talking about wanting to have a very Latin community, like in this, where like at the end, like it's almost more of like an ice shootout than it is like shooting her, than it is just like a cop on the street.
It could still be a cop on
It
the
can
street.
still be on because cops just shoot and kill.
If we're keeping this as LA, I feel like introducing ICE is that like I feel
a little
like
too much.
I feel like that's a little bit too much, a little bit fuzzing the problem of this is an LA problem and the LAPD kill people all the time.
They do.
And I feel like that's enough. That's enough of a problem. I don't think we need this extra of, oh, by the way, it's happening over there too.
Though I do wonder, because it's so funny at the end of Chinatown, like this cop shoots this woman, you know, whatever, and everyone's just standing there. I don't think that would happen today if a cop shot a girl driving away in her car with her daughter. I'm not, you know, especially in these communities that are already so upset with the cops.
Here's my pitch. I think we pitch this whole thing as our Lieutenant Escobar had been paired with Jake Gittes before, and Jake left the force because this guy was so corrupt, and he still thinks this guy is so corrupt. And the other cops he talked to is like, yeah, he's a problem, but like, as long as we keep him to doing his own thing, it's not a big deal. It's like he's in his own place. The rest of us aren't like that. You kind of gave up and you abandoned the post, the thing that we could have done to keep this guy in check. If you want to be brutal, it's all of the defense of like the rest of the cops aren't like that. And then Escobar ends the movie killing Evelyn, and then the rest of the cops circle around and protect Escobar and keep everyone out and keep everything in place because they are just as bad. Because if you allow one horrible person to be in there and don't punish him and you're a part of that system, then you are also culpable for the actions of that person. Better?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Hooray!
Yay, hooray!
Let's talk about casting.
Oh boy.
I obviously don't have as many Hispanic people as you do, but we'll see what we end up with, and we'll end up with a little bit of a mix of both, okay?
Great.
Let's talk about our Jake Gittes. Who did you have for our lead for Mr. Chinatown?
Oscar Isaac.
Ah, okay, great. Good choice. Tell me why.
Because he's hot. Well, okay, so here's the thing. The reason why Jack Nicholson worked in that role is if you don't have an actor that has charisma that you like regardless of what they say or do, the role doesn't work.
That's fair.
And I feel like Oscar has that. Pedro Pascal has that, but Pedro's so busy, and I'm getting a little tired of Pedro.
I think Oscar Isaac is a better choice.
I'd like to see more Oscar.
Okay,
Yeah.
My choice was Josh O'Connor.
Oh, okay.
So Josh O'Connor is the lead he's not the lead. He's the priest in Wake Up Dead Man. He's in Disclosure Day. He's one of the guys in Challengers. He's also a lot younger. So I was going for someone who was recently off the force and was kind of like finding his footing as a detective. And I was kind of having him kind of be the young, starry-eyed, the world doesn't have to be this way kind of guy, as opposed to Oscar Isaac, who is older and be like, well, yeah, I've seen awful, terrible things. Yeah. The world is awful and terrible. And so I guess the notion is, what level of jaded do we want for our lead?
I mean, I love me a hot jaded guy, but that's just my own trauma coming out with my sexual preferences. And I'm not saying I pick well, so yeah.
We can come back to that and see what the world we build around. So for my Evelyn Mulray, I went with an actress named Tala Ash. I first saw her in Legends of Tomorrow. I've cast her on the show before. She's on American Odyssey. She's in Smash. She is a woman of Arab descent.
Oh, I want to see her, because I don't recognize the name.
I'm going to have a hard time turning my computer around, so this might be a time for phone stuff.
Oh, okay, wait, I see it. Okay. Yes.
I think she's great. I'm always a big fan of this particular actress. She was a really good, charming lead on Legends of Tomorrow, and she's also just, of course, a phenomenal actress.
Well, you're going to think I'm nuts for who I have.
Tell me.
Kristen Stewart.
Interesting.
And I know she's not Latino. Like, if we're going to go full Latino, there's another woman. It's Adriana. I think it's pronounced Arjona. She's probably most popular for dating Jason Momoa these days, but she's been in a bunch of stuff, and I think she's underused. It's Adria, and then her last name is Arjona.
I see her as a writer. Oh, I found her. There she is. Adria Arjona, not Adriana.
Adria, yeah.
There she is. Okay. In both instances, we went with someone a little bit potential younger. But between the two...
It's because we live in LA, and that's just the way you think. You always... Love interest. Your mind always goes to a younger woman.
Yeah, Adriana Arjona is mid-30s, and I believe that Tala is probably late 30s, early 40s, but I don't know.
Okay.
Let me find out. Yeah, so Tala is early 40s.
Okay.
So I would push us towards Tala Ash.
Let's do Tala.
That brings us to Hollis, our victim slash okay-ish guy, maybe. Who did you have for this role?
I didn't cast him. He's such a small role.
Fair enough. I cast one of the actors from who's on Widow's Bay. I first saw him on
I love Widow's Bay.
I first saw him on Other Space. It is an actor named Neil Casey.
Let's do it.
Just kind of a schlubby guy.
I mean, I feel like, I know you don't cast yourself, but like I feel like you'd be great in that role.
Thank you. I also think I'd be an excellent victim.
Being a victim is fun.
I agree. But let's go with Neil Casey for the purposes of this. Then did you have someone for Noah Cross?
Andy Garcia.
Oh, okay. Tell me why Andy Garcia.
Because Andy doesn't, like, he's so meticulous with his emotional choices with his characters. Like, you can tell, like, he's an actor that doesn't phone it in.
That's true.
And I feel like with Noah Cross, it'd be so easy to just be like, oh, I'm a pedophile bad guy. But if you don't find the moments for his humanity and for you to want to like him, because you don't know about him at first.
Right.
You just know he's a rich guy. And, Jack's character
Presumably charming.
Yeah, comes over to his house, serving him like fish heads, with I thought was an amazing detail for that lunch. And he's like trying to charm Jack, and he's like pushing it. And you need an actor that knows how to do the push pull of like, there's something wrong with me, but you should like me, but there's something wrong with me, but you should. And I think he's got that.
Yeah, I think that's very good. I went with Stephen Root.
Who's that?
Stephen Root is the older guy on Barry. He's also the one with the stapler in Office Space.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that name.
Stephen Root is great. I love Stephen Root. I think he plays an excellent villain. I actually think he's the villain in Widow's Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And he is very good, very conniving, very also meticulous, but it's a very different vibe. And I actually think Andy Garcia is probably a more correct vibe of like, yeah, I'm just a charming rich guy. Everyone likes me. I'm friendly. Cool, yeah. Sure, I'm an absolute horrendous monster behind closed doors, but like, I'm so fun and attractive that like, really, people would want me to be a monster to them, wouldn't they? It's the whole like, oh, I'm attractive, therefore it's okay that I do these things.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think Andy Garcia is probably the correct choice. That brings us to Lieutenant Escobar.
I have either Michael Pena or Pruitt Taylor Vince.
I don't know who Pruitt Taylor Vince is.
Well, I try to put Pruitt in everything because he's a friend of mine. So
Oh.
I'm always looking. I'm just be honest. But he was most recently Superman's dad in the newest Superman. But he plays.
Oh, he was really good at that.
Yeah, he's really good at cop roles.
Keep in mind, this guy's going to be one of our villains.
I know, but but Pruitt also plays a lot of bad guys.
Sure.
But he's so good at making them lovable's not the word. Like making them so you don't suspect them to be the person who they really are.
Okay.
And so, but then like it becomes obvious at the end. So like he's so good at never playing his characters as bad guys.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty good. That is kind of what we're going for.
The best skill ever for, I think, an actor to ever have.
Fair. I mean, I went with Manny Jacinto.
Okay.
You've seen him on The Good Place.
I love The Good Place.
And he was Jason on The Good Place.
He needs to do more stuff.
I agree. He needs to do more stuff. So I'll throw him into stuff here occasionally because I'm like, he should do more things.
Yes, he should do more things.
But I'm happy to go with Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Do you have anyone for Thomas, who's the chief engineer of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power? He was the guy that we couldn't remember the name for earlier.
The person, what does he do in the movie?
He's like the other guy in the office.
I wrote his name down as Yelburton.
Yeah, I think it might be Thomas Yelburton.
Probably. Russ Yelburton is the second antagonist so it's not Thomas Yelburton, it's Russ Yelburton.
I must have written his name down wrong then.
Okay, but we're talking about the lieutenant at the Department of Water.
Yes.
I do have that.
Okay.
I went with an actress named Vanessa Ferlito.
Oh, hi. I love that she's growing out her gray hair.
She is an actress who has played a lot of different cops on like NCIS, those sorts of things. She was in Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. She's in Death Proof. She's in Grindhouse. She very often plays cops. She is known for her portrayal of Claudia Hernandez on 24.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Gotta find your niche and make a living at it.
Absolutely. So that's who she is. That's who I went with.
I love it. because we don't have enough skirts.
We don't have enough dames.
Yeah, a teacher used to say, you need more skirts.
Skirts and skorts.
Need some skirts.
Who'd you have for Yelbert?
I had Edgar Ramirez. He's in Atlas and Borderlands. He's in Amelia Perez.
That's fair. Let's get some skirts.
Let's get some skirts.
Let's get some skirts. Which brings us to Ida Sessions, and then I do think we should go with Oscar Isaac for Jake Gittes.
Yeah, I love Oscar for that.
So who did you have for your Ida Sessions?
You know, she's also, I mean, she's such an important role, but she was smaller, so I did not cast her. You know what? Now, I could move Kristen Stewart to her role. I think Kristen Stewart's an underrated actress, and she
agree.
did Twilight, and everyone thinks she's bad because she had a bad script and probably bad direction, and she was young and she was experimenting, and which is great.
Hey, you don't have to defend Kristen Stewart on this podcast.
Okay.
We're fans of Kristen Stewart here.
I think she could do a wonderful job.
That's not who I had for the role. I cast an actress who we would immediately believe as the noir bombshell actress who would be, I'm just here to hire you for a job. So I cast Kat Dennings.
Oh!
And I think it'd be really funny if it turns out Kat Dennings was, oh, no, I was just there for a role.
Just there for a role.
Yeah, and I just think that'd be really
Sorry,
funny.
officer.
Yeah. I dropped my wallet.
Look, I still have my backstage clipping. I keep them all.
Yeah, and I feel like if that's the kind of thing that we're going for, I feel like Kat Dennings is actually really good casting for that.
I think that's lovely.
Cool.
That's lovely.
Cool. So then I don't have any more actor roles. I just have writer and director. Do you have any more actor roles?
I have no more actor roles.
Okay. So then that brings us to writer and director. I have separate writer and director. Do you have separate or a hyphenate?
I have a hyphenate. And I had to look up his name last night, and then I didn't write it down. He did Alejandro...
Oh, Alejandro Iñárritu.
Yes, that's who I have.
Iñárritu. All right.
Iñárritu.
All right. Alejandro Iñárritu is a good choice. So what I did was I kind of went with... Let me tell you about my writer.
Okay.
My writer is the writer and director of Nightcrawler.
Okay.
So like creepy noir vibes
Yes.
kind of thing. He also did Andor. And then also Velvet Buzzsaw and stuff. Because Andor is very much political commentary. This is what the system is like. And then Nightcrawler is creepy noir. And that's a writer named Dan Gilroy.
Okay.
And then for my director, I went with the director of Widows, 12 Years a Slave, Shame, and I went with Steve McQueen. And I thought that combination of noir-esque vibes while also dealing with social commentary is probably where we'd want to end up on something like our version of Chinatown. However, I'm more than happy to go with Alejandro Iñárritu for our director over Steve McQueen.
The reason I went with Alejandro is because he tends to put a very unique and interesting take on things. And I think if we're touching a property like Chinatown that's so beloved and so known, that if you lean too much into what's already been done and you don't give it something new and fresh, I'm not saying for him to go full Birdman on it or whatever, but he does find unique ways into stories.
I think that's valid.
Yeah, I think
Great.
We're going to need his help.
Good. Sold. That is our cast for Chinatown.
Yay!
Jake Gittes will be Oscar Isaac. Evelyn Mulray will be Tala Ash. Hollis Mulray will be Neil Casey. Noah Cross will be Andy Garcia. Lieutenant Escobar will be Pruitt Taylor Vince. Russ Yelburton will be Vanessa Ferlito. Ida Sessions will be Kat Dennings. All this will be written by Dan Gilroy and directed by Alejandro Iñárritu. That is Chinatown.
Chinatown!
We did it!
We did it!
We feel good now, despite being sad.
We just won podcasting.
Yeah.
Yay.
They said it couldn't be done and also shouldn't be done, but
It probably still shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No one do this.
no one do this. But just in case. Jennifer, thank you so much for being my guest on Ideal Remake and for forcing me to watch this movie.
You're so welcome, and feel free to use that list of movies I sent you with your future guests.
I will.
Because I sent you like 300.
A lot of movies. But now's the time. If you have any things you want to plug or social medias you want people to follow, now's the time. Please tell them about it.
You can follow me on Jennifer Lynn Warren, but I think everything I'm up to will be done by the time this comes out. So
Probably. I think this is going to be end of July.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea what's happening end of July.
But if you want to find out what the next things you're going to be doing
It'll
are...
probably be on my Instagram because that's the only social media I actually know how to work. Jennifer Lynn Warren, Instagram.
Valid.
There's Little Dinosaur. That's how you'll know it's me.
And I like the Little Dinosaur.
Thank you.
If you're interested in following me on social media, I am Ideal Remake on Instagram, or I am at Sam Gasch, SamGasch on BlueSky. Or I also want to call this out for people who are listening to the end of this episode. This is episode 190 of Ideal Remake. By the time I get to the end of the year, it is going to be episode 200. So I want to do something a little bit different for episode 200. And if you join or are on the Dueling Genre Discord and have some suggestions for what I should cover for my 200th episode, I would love to hear that. Am I stealing this idea from Franchisography? Yes. But it's still valid. I am going to start asking for suggestions on the Discord of movies that people think would be a fun 200th episode, and then I'll figure out a way to kind of narrow it down, and we'll kind of figure out a way to pick that movie. So please, let me know on the Discord what movie should be number 200. But that's for the future. For right now, I'm going to end this episode the same way I end every episode. Jennifer Lynn Warren, what is your favorite quote from the movie Chinatown?
Most people never have to face the fact that at the right time, the right place, they're capable of anything.